from Growing Home and Garden. Today's video is a quick pothos care guide. It's one of the easiest houseplants to grow, the hardest houseplants to kill, which makes it a great houseplant for beginners. Pothos is also known as devil's ivy because it is so hard to kill. In this video, I'm going to be going over the basics for pothos. Light requirements, water, humidity, soil, fertilizer, toxicity, and propagation. I'll leave timestamps in the description for each of those sections, but let's get right into the video. So first, light requirements. Pothos can deal with almost anything your home has to offer. It really does like bright light and is most productive in bright light, but places like bathrooms that might not have windows or other places with dim light in your house, it also does just fine. It won't necessarily grow as fast, but it is very likely that it will survive. For me, I don't even think about the light in the space where I'm putting pothos because I know that it's pretty much guaranteed to grow anywhere except places like a closet where it's never going to see light. Next thing about pothos is its water requirements. It doesn't require much water at all. I like to water mine once a week when I can remember. Sometimes I've gone a few weeks without watering it, but it looks basically the same in my experience. If you have your pothos in a pot that has draining holes, a good idea is to put it in a sink or a bathtub or something like that, and then water until you see water coming out of those drainage holes, and then stop and let it kind of continue to drain for a few hours until you're certain that there's no more water that's going to come out. Or if you're watering your pothos and you have a saucer on the bottom of it and the saucer kind of fills up with water, you want to dump out the water from the saucer so that the plant isn't sitting in the water for too long, but that's really true for a lot of houseplants, so it doesn't really require special care in that department. I actually have my pothos in an antique brass planter that has no drainage holes. You can get beautiful antique planters like this on our shop. I will link it in the description, shop.growinghomeandgarden.com. But this planter, I don't find any problems with not having a drainage hole for pothos because I don't have to water it very intensely. I have dealt with this plant for long enough to know its water requirements. So I probably put about a cup of water in the plant every week, and I do test the soil to see if it's wet. If it was too wet, it could cause root rot with not having any drainage in this pot. But I'm able to monitor the water level, and this plant is so not temperamental. So it's really easy. It's the perfect plant to grow in this beautiful pot without any drainage. Next, when it comes to humidity, a house's general humidity should be just fine for this plant. It may perform better in places in your house that have higher humidity, like your bathroom, and it might dry out a little bit sooner in the driest places. Like if you have it right next to your fireplace, it might not like that dry air. But just general home humidity should be just fine for the pothos. Soil, common theme here, it's not super picky. Your typical well-draining potting soil that you can get from your local garden center, Home Depot, Lowe's, it should be just fine with that. And then fertilizer, you can fertilize it if you want, you really don't have to. If you're going to fertilize it, your typical liquid indoor houseplant fertilizer is a great option, but I wouldn't fertilize it any more than once a month in the growing season, which is typically spring and summer. I wouldn't fertilize it in the winter, and if you choose to not fertilize it at all, that is totally fine as well. It should still continue to grow. And then temperature. Pothos generally likes 65 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, which should be just fine for a houseplant. Typically, a lot of people keep their homes in that range, so it should be just fine in terms of temperature in your home if you keep your home in approximately that temperature range. The next thing to know about pothos is it is mildly toxic to humans and animals, so just keep that in mind. The final thing that we're going to talk about today with the pothos is propagation. It's one of the easiest plants to propagate, which essentially just means clipping off a part of the plant and then growing a new plant with that cutting. So I'll show you what I have done in the way of propagation with pothos. So I just took this cutting of this pothos yesterday. I like to cut at least 4 inches of the stem off of the plant and have a few of these root nodes on the stem. Those nodes are actually where the roots are going to come out of. So you'll want to put those nodes in the water. This is just an old jam jar that I filled with some clean tap water. You'll want to switch out the water every 3 to 5 days to always kind of have fresh water for the plant to grow. But I'll show you what happens after about a month is the plant will grow roots just like this, and then you should be able to put that in some potting soil. One of the things to be careful of is not to leave the cutting in water too long after it's rooted. I need to pot this up today or tomorrow, but this cutting won't be so easy to plant in soil if it stays in the water for a really long time. it'll be more adapted to water than soil. So you want to get it into soil as soon as you can after it's done a couple inches of growing roots. So water propagation is the way that I find the most success propagating my pothos, but there are other ways. Some people use potting soil, peat moss, even sand to propagate. So there are a variety of ways to do it. That rounds out my pothos care guide. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you give pothos a try. It really is super easy to grow. It continues to do really well for me. Again, you can find beautiful antiques like this on our shop, which I will link below. Thank you so much for watching, and please give this video a like. It really helps out my channel, and subscribe to my channel for more. I'll leave my social media below as well. Have a great day. Thanks.